Your Excellencies, esteemed delegates, brothers and sisters, good evening, Africa.
Good evening.
I greet you in the eternal African spirit of Ubuntu. I am because you are. And who I am is a bridge builder. And so are all of you, whether you know it or not. The fact that you are here today is a testament to that. But where are my manners? You've all had a long day, right? Right? Okay, so before I go any further, let me check on you guys. How are you doing? I said, how are you doing? Fine. All right, cool. So, I trust you've all had a productive, insightful, and wholly beneficial experience thus far in the land of 1,000 hills. And particularly here at the Tarj Forum Trade Fair. I would like to extend a special note of appreciation and gratitude to our industrious, visionary organizer, Ms. Rosette Alou. Can we have a round of applause for Ms. Rosette? And how about this venue, the Kigali Convention Center? It's amazing, isn't it? Do you guys see the tremendous achievements that we can accomplish in Africa with vision, planning, and execution? Now, let's revisit a very important concept from my opening statement, Ubuntu. The term Ubuntu is quite a special one. Its origin is distinctly African in namesake and meaning. Humanity towards others. The golden rule, right? Now, we all know this from childhood. Treat others how you want to be treated. When I consider the word others, it makes me think about another popular idiom, even closer to home and based on African sensibilities. And that is, it takes a village. Africa is a village. A large, diverse village of over 1 billion villagers, but a village nonetheless. In this, we are unique in the world. Our innate connectedness makes us family. One country's joys should be its neighbor's joy as well. One country's sorrows should be the same for the rest of the continent. I am my brother's keeper. That's considered integration. And integration means unity. Unity was the driving force for the Organization of African Unity founded in Ethiopia in 1963. As we all know, this later became the African Union. I think you can all see where I'm going here, right? The writing is literally on the wall. African unity and integration has been our North Star since the very beginning. From villages to intercontinental organizations. It's quite evident our strength is in our unity, and we have seen time and again that our undoing is in our disunity. I'm reminded of an article I read recently, written by an American woman living in an African village. She said that her village was tiny, a couple thousand people at most. Geographically, it should have taken her no more than 10 minutes to get through the entire village. But every day it took her at least 40 minutes. She found herself stopping every couple of feet to speak with the neighbors and friends, asking about their health, family, their farms. Now, this may sound like a waste of time to some, but what she was doing was incredibly important. She was building strong relationships. Although some of us may think of villages as backwards today, the essence of village life is pure, and the lessons that they have to impart are relevant on a macro level. Now, I know there are some naysayers out there that call themselves realists that would say, easier said than done. Our differences are much too great to overcome. So much has happened, unity is simply not possible for Africa. And since it's not possible, we will focus on just our individual countries. That's called isolationism. And you would be hard-pressed to find a scenario in history where such a stance has been sustainable or prosperous, particularly on a continent as vast as our own. With so many countries, cultures, languages, and interests, we have to look after each other. We have to realize that nationalism and isolationism have rarely been a productive exercise. So here's a novel idea. How about we consider a little discussed but wholly apparent policy known as continentalism? This is actually practiced today on some of the wealthiest continents on Earth, namely Europe with the European Union and North America with the North American Free Trade Agreement. In essence, these agreements put continental interests over those of individual country interests. Why? These continents realize that they are interconnected, and what affects one will eventually affect the other. Fast forward to today as Africa, the wealthiest continent on earth, in possession of the most precarious of dilemmas, having the poorest people on earth, now stands on the precipice of continental redemption and a significant shift of fortunes. The catalyst for this silver lining is our historic landmark trade deal, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Its purpose? Promote intra-African trade by facilitating the free movement of goods and people across the continent. Currently, Africa accounts for just 2% of global trade, and only 17% of African exports are intracontinental, compared with Asia at 60% and Europe at 70%. Are we seeing the trend here? The more a continent trades with itself, the more prosperous it is. Therefore, the potential for Africa is massive. When fully implemented and enforced, Africa stands to gain quite a bit. Creation of a single market, economic boost via trade diversity, cross-border collaboration, tariff elimination, poverty reduction, female and youth empowerment, and expediting industrialization, to name just a few. Connecting 1.3 billion people across 55 countries is expected to balloon Africa's GDP to over $3.4 trillion. Now this is up from $2.6 trillion in 2019. Translation, this is an opportunity that we cannot afford to miss. All that being said, integration is nothing new for Africa. We have various regional integration and trading systems already in place, such as the East African Community, SADC, and ECOWAS. However, the realization of a single African economic structure is far too promising for us to take this moment lightly. We must rise to the occasion like a phoenix from the ashes, guided by the strength and wisdom of countless ancestors. We no longer have time for divisive rhetoric and practices. Cooperation, transparency, communication, and integration should be the order of the day moving forward. No other continent possesses the wisdom of Africa. Think of how many African proverbs have guided the hand and action of world leaders and village elders alike. We are a people wise beyond measure. The time has come to not just have potential, but to over-deliver on the silent promises that many of us make every night. Not just to ourselves, our families, and our communities, but to generations yet to be born. Because we know that they will hold us accountable. Do we want them to ask, did those before me seize the moment, or did they let it pass? Like birds' feathers on the wing. Did they live only for their day, or did they plan for 1,000 years into the future? I encourage everyone in this room to commit today to not disappoint our future generations. Let's join hands and speak in one voice and rise together. In closing, I'd like to share an adaptation of one of my favorite poems. The poem is about love for each other, and the poem is about integration. Ubuntu is patient. Ubuntu is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Ubuntu does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Ubuntu never fails. Thank you. Whoops, almost forgot. Here's another one for you. Cross the river in a crowd and the crocodile won't eat you. Sorry, I couldn't resist slipping in one more African proverb before I leave. Thank you. What goes in?